Hey guys, good to see you again. Thanks for joining me for your weekly market update. This week we're going to be talking about the attached Metro Denver market review for our numbers that came out in April. Now keep in mind that due to builder defect laws that were resolved about 18 to 24 months ago, we've seen increased inventory entering that market for the first time in probably about 6 or 7 years. Now with that development of new construction, that means that we have increased inventory in the market, and what we've been enjoying is that pent-up buyer pool has been able to write more contracts going into 2019 than what we'd seen in previous years. Now keep in mind that prices are determined by that relationship between supply and demand, and as we have additional inventory that enters the market, as long as the demand curve follows along with that supply curve, prices will continue to rise, okay? So let's take a quick look at those numbers. Active inventory again was up to 1,875 units for sale. We're running roughly 30% higher for that metric consistently for about 6 or 7 months in a row now, based over what we saw in the previous year. That represents a 26.7% increase over that same month 1 year ago, to be precise. Contracts written are also up, but they were only up by about 1% year over year, and so they're not following at quite the same pace as what our active inventory is. And so what that means for our buyer pool is you have more choices that are available to you in 2019. So for those of you that might have been waiting to downsize into an attached dwelling, if you have been looking to make your first purchase as a millennial for an attached property, you're going to have more choices so far this year in 2019. Now prices haven't quite started to slow due to the difference between supply and demand, but stay tuned, because as we get further into the summer months, what's going to happen is buyer affordability will continue to increase as we have more supply hit the market and our buyer pool starts to relax after we get past Memorial Day. Okay, median days on market, we're down to 8. We're about 1 day higher than what we projected it to be, but still you have to be very conscientious as a seller the day that you choose to present your listings to market. Again, you have 50% of the units that are under contract in about that first week, and so if you present your listing to market on a weekend that's a holiday, you might be doing yourself a disservice and not having the same threshold of buyers available to you in the marketplace. Average sales price came in with a really solid bump. We came into $366,000 for an average sales price, with the median sales price holding pretty flat at about $300,000. Okay, flash sales, again, 50% of the units under contract in 7 days or less. Just a little bit less than that, it was actually 49.3%. Now the offers that we're seeing come in 2019 for our attached market are incredibly strong. While you may not see multiple offer scenarios as frequently as you've seen in years past, the offers that are coming in are incredibly solid, with 58% of those units selling for at or over their asking price. So the market hasn't quite relaxed yet. We're still seeing some really good strong offers, albeit fewer of them. Okay. Now again, quick recap of those numbers. Our sold number popped up because we had great buyer activity, putting units under contract back in March, closing in April. So our sold pool ended up increasing by 22% in just that month alone. Again, keep in mind that the month of May is where we see the bulk of these units going under contract. And so we have about 4 to 6 weeks left of our extreme sellers market compression cycle. As we start to get past Memorial Day, further into right after Independence Day, we'll start to see the buyer pool relax, increased inventory. That it means increased affordability. Okay. Now this market again is different than looking at our detached market. We have more inventory than expected in this market, but I think that that's really a welcome change. For those of you that have been craving getting back to more balanced market here in Metro Denver, we're not close to that yet, but we are starting to look at some of those baby steps that allow us to look at that and see that, you know what, buyers do have more options available in our market. Last thing that we should probably talk about is another big pop in that average sales price due to our compression cycle. For those of you that have been very aggressive in your pricing, you may have been rewarded in that, but keep in mind that that is directly tied to the relationship between supply and demand. If you're listing homes going into June, July, you really need to start considering pulling back on that pricing, because we see prices start to drop off right after July 4th for those closed units closing in July as a result of units going under contract typically in June by about 1.9%. So if you've been aggressive in your pricing, great. You need to start pulling back on that now so that you're not one of those that are hanging out sitting in the market. Again, we've been pretty much dead on pace with what our projections are. We thought we'd be around 364,000. We came in at 366,000. Looking forward into May and June, if we maintain the same cycle, these are typically our two heaviest priced months of the year, where we're looking somewhere between $370,000 to $375,000 for an average single-family attached dwelling here in Metro Denver. Now, I hope that you'll stick around with us going into next week. We're going to start talking about what happens as we get past Memorial Day and what starts to happen with pricing. And so you can start to keep an eye out for that slight shift and easing in the market that starts to feed in through June. And then by July, we're going to start talking about those price reductions. It's important that we start talking about that now because, again, we want you ahead of the curve so you're not in a position to chase that market down again. I hope this information is helpful to you. If you'd like to get a copy of it, reach out to me. And if we're able to help you get more buyers and sellers under contract, we sure would love to see them at our closing tables. We'll see you soon.